Hi, everybody. My name's Gerald Kostica. I've been with Enagic this is my 11th year going into our 12th. I'm not going to give you a whole lot of background on me because you're not here to learn my background. You're here to get some information that's going to be helpful to you in building your Enagic business. So we're going to dive right into that. So tonight's topic is overcoming price objections. Now, I had a lot of people who said, please cover this topic. Please cover this topic, okay? So that's what our topic's going to be tonight. So I'm going to get right into this. Now, I actually made a lot of notes. Most of the time I go off the cuff because I have enough information that, that I've garnered throughout the 11 plus years that I've been doing this now. And I really do have, a lot of info. And that's usually how, when I'm talking to somebody, that info will come out as needed. Well, when you do a training like this, you kind of have to do it in a different style and method. So I did take a lot of notes and prompts for myself, more to keep me on track than anything else. Okay, so I'm going to start by letting you guys know. So I actually went online today and did a search for literally overcoming price objections. It's just the search I put in there for the search parameter. And I got a bunch of canned responses, 20 ways to overcome a price objection, 33 ways to overcome a price objection. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the information that was posted was, it's like old sales strategies and techniques. And some of them, quite frankly, were created as a way to make the prospect feel stupid. I mean, that's really, make them feel like, inadequate if they don't purchase the product. And, I don't like doing things like that. To me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. To make the person that you're hoping will purchase a product that could improve the life of for them and their family, possibly be able to start a business with it. If your approach is going to be to give them canned responses that, in some cases make them feel stupid, then maybe you shouldn't be an Enagic distributor. Maybe you should be selling one of those other brands, because that's how they engage prospects and potential customers. That shouldn't be the way that we do it. Okay. So I don't think a canned response really works for us anyway, because, the reality is every situation is different when you talk to somebody who's a potential client, a potential customer. So you got to keep that in mind. Okay, that you are trying to develop what hopefully will become a lifelong relationship with the person who purchases. Now, in some cases, that relationship already exists, but in other cases, you're establishing the relationship. So make sure you're doing it with the right intention, okay, which is your site should be set on not just making a sale, okay, but maybe making a friend, maybe making a contact, maybe making a relationship that's going to stay with you and be with you for the rest of your life. Okay. So really what it boils down to is that price objections come when a prospect doesn't understand the value of the product. That's really what it boils down to. In a lot of cases though, all they have to do is be reminded of things that they already know. Okay. It's like consumer 101. We know these things, and sometimes we have to be reminded of it, okay? So there's a couple of realities that I want to talk about real quick. And I'm going to read these verbatim to make sure that I get them exactly how I wanted it to sound, okay? The first reality is that you can find any type of product for a lower price, okay? Bottom line, you just have to be willing to compromise the potential benefits, the value, the quality, the dependability, and the performance. That's all you have to be willing to forego in order to get a lower price, okay? I think every consumer knows this. So sometimes just reminding a person of that fact will get their head started in a direction that will allow them to look more objectively at what we have, okay? You have to remember that a price objection simply means that we haven't established the value and the worth of the product in the eyes of the consumer. That's all it means. It doesn't mean we never will. It just means we haven't yet. Okay? So that's one of the things we have to make sure that we do, is establish that. One of these other realities is that most of the time the deciding factor isn't price. Okay? It's the value of the price paid. That's really the biggest determining factor. Okay, so that said, there are a few things you will need to learn how to do when it comes to overcoming price objections. Okay, one of the first things, probably the most important, is you need to learn how to listen. Listening is extremely important because if someone's telling you that they have an objection and it's based on the price, you need to determine exactly why that is. Okay, and the only way you can do that is to shut your mouth and open your ears and allow your prospect to tell you. Okay, don't speculate. Don't think you already know what the answer is. Because you probably don't. And definitely don't come back with any of those little snide, almost bordering on insulting, like little comebacks and comments that a lot of those canned responses are based on, because all it's going to do is make your prospect feel dumb and make you look like a jerk. Okay? And I can tell you, for me, I don't need anybody helping me do that. I make myself look like a jerk all by myself, plenty. So you don't want to do that. My son is nodding in agreement way too much, okay? But in all seriousness, though, you do have to learn how to listen, okay? One of the other things you have to do, and this is becoming kind of a lost art, you have to learn how to read between the lines. Okay, and some people don't know what that means. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what that means. It means when the person tells you something, they actually mean something else. They're just too embarrassed to tell you that thing. Okay, so if somebody was to say, "Oh, that's a lot of money." Okay, when somebody tells you that that's a lot of money, listen to that, because what they might be telling you is, "You know what? I can't really afford that right now. It's more than I can afford." So, and that's a different statement. Saying something's a lot of money and saying something that I can't afford it, that's actually two different things. So sometimes you have to be able to read between the lines so you can be respectful of your prospect, okay? Because you definitely don't want to overstep bounds and like almost become insulting, okay? Also, remember, when you're talking to a prospect, the things that you're saying to them, the things that you're doing with them, that's what they're learning. So if they were to become a distributor, and the way that you approach it is by, snapping back with a snide comment about, anybody can afford these. Well, if this person can't, then you're saying that you're nobody. If you tell them anybody can afford these and they know that they can't, you are, without realizing it, saying this person's a nobody. Okay? So you got to be real careful what you say, how you say it. Okay? The other thing that will really help, okay, is practice. I know that kind of sounds dumb, but I can absolutely assure you that as you get more experience, you will get better at this, okay? I'm able to handle a price objection very, very easily, okay? But I wasn't able to handle it as easily on day one of being an Magic distributor, but I was able to handle it better on day 50. And then I was able to handle it better on year 2. And then I got to the point where I could handle it even better. And it's just progressively gotten better and better and better, which allows me to be more successful at what I'm doing. Why? Because I've got the practice and experience and I know how to do it better. So if you are a distributor who's just getting started, it's okay. There's a learning curve, okay? That's what these trainings are for, is to help you be able to expedite that learning curve. And instead of it taking you 6 months to 11 years to figure out how to do this stuff, we want to be able to do it very, very rapidly. So that's what this information is for, okay? Okay, now we're going to dive into some actual, stuff, okay? So the first one is, why do consumers even ask about price? Right? Well, it's a good question. And there's basically 4 main reasons that consumers even ask about price. Number 1, they want to know how much they need to either reserve in their budget or set aside. They need to know what resources they're going to need to tackle in order to purchase the product. So that's the number 1 thing, okay? Number 2, it's a natural instinct. If somebody says this is for sale, it's available for you to purchase, one of the first things a person wants to know is, well, how much does it cost? Because they're trying to determine whether or not, one, they can afford it. And, that's really a lot of times what the reason is. They want to know if they can afford it or not, okay? Why do you think you go into a restaurant and all the prices are already set? The prices are on the menu, right? Why? So you can determine if what you're ordering, if that price point is acceptable to you for that product. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to one of these, but there are some restaurants where there is no prices. There are no prices on the menu whatsoever. And that's basically because if you need to know what the price is, you cannot afford to eat there. Okay? So understand that, there's a reason that we ask for the prices. We want to know. It's natural instinct. Another reason is they're price shopping for the lowest cost. Now, most of the time, if you're price shopping with an ionizer, the only time that happens is if you have been exposed to some of the stuff that some of these other ionizer sellers post online, calling into question the price of our product and trying to put a spotlight on the lower price of their product. Okay, that's typically the only time that they will, for us, if they're doing comparative pricing. Okay, that's why that will come up. All right, and the last part is, as consumers now, in some cases, we've become conditioned to think that the first quoted price can actually be talked down. I think cars are probably the greatest example of this. Most of the time, if a person goes to a car dealership, they're not expecting to pay the price that's on the window sticker. They already kind of figure, and it's already kind of been established that for the most part, you'll have the opportunity to sit down, maybe haggle a little bit, get a little bit of dough dropped off of the price of the car. Okay. However, there are some places where, when you walk into the dealership, if you want the car, the price is what the price is. That's it. As a matter of fact, that's the way it is in most of our lives. Because when was the last time that you went to the grocery store and while you were standing there, when the girl or the guy rang up the price, that you said, oh, wait, you know what? That's ringing up at $6.99. You think I could get it for $6.49? Well, yeah. Do you have a coupon? Well, no. I just want to haggle a little bit. That doesn't happen, right? Okay. In normal life, that's not the way we approach things the majority of the time. The majority of the time, you take for granted that the price point that has been set for a reason. And then you determine on if the quality of the product justifies the cost. And if it does, and you can afford that, and you find the benefit high enough, then you buy it. Okay? Now, here's one of the things that's interesting, though, in our industry. Okay? Because like cars, other brands, they will quickly offer a discount on their product if they think the person on the other end, especially when they have them on the telephone, okay, they will offer a discount on their product if they think that it's going to land them the sale. Okay, they do it all the time. Now, Enagic does not base the price of their products on what each consumer wants to pay. The prices are set, and they've been set very carefully based on calculated pricing algorithms, pricing models, and market factors. And the most important thing is they are set the same for everyone. Now, that's a really important piece, okay? Why? Because you pay the same price for the product as a famous movie star, as a professional athlete, as top business people in the world. It basically is a level consumer playing field when it comes to the way that the product is priced. And the other thing that's important that if you don't know this already, you might have seen a lot of the pictures of celebrities who have the machines. Some of them are very vocal about the fact that they have them. They go around with their Enagic bottles. They've got the machines. They take pictures with the machines. There's pro athletes as well, top business people. None of these people were given those machines by Enagic. Enagic does not play that particular game. They do not give away their product so they can grab a picture of somebody with it and then claim an endorsement. As a matter of fact, all of these people that have these machines, they are just end users. Well, not all of them. The vast majority of them are end users. Some of them have actually sold the machines as well. Okay? But the bottom line is, Enagic doesn't just give these to them. They had to pay for it, just like you did. Okay? So it's a nice level playing field. Now, here's one of the other questions, though, okay? If those other brands are so quick to offer a discount, then why didn't they just offer the product at that discounted price to begin with? Why didn't they just offer it at that price? If they advertise their product at $29.95 and then willing to take $2,500 for it, why didn't they just advertise it at $2,500 to begin with? I'm going to tell you why. It's called perceived value. That's the reason, okay? You start with a higher promoted price. Then you claim that your product is the same as a superior product. Then you offer a product discount if the person decides to purchase in that moment, right then and there. And when that happens, then the consumer now feels like they're getting a deal, right? When the reality is the consumer is basically getting an overpriced, underperforming product. Okay? Here's the bottom line. If you pay more for something than what it's worth, that's getting ripped off. Okay? That being said, I want every Enagic distributor who's watching this right now, I want you to ask yourself right now, okay, in all seriousness, if the machines were no longer available, they were only going to be available to somebody who had purchased one previously. They're no longer available to the general public. Okay? But the price point is higher than what you paid. Whatever price you originally paid for your machine, add $1,000 to it. Okay? $1,000. That's what it's going to cost you on top of the regular price. So for my SD501 that I paid $39.80 for, that same product's going to cost me $49.80. Now, if my machine was to break down, if your machine was to break down, in all seriousness, would you buy a new one? And would you spend that extra $1,000? Now, I can absolutely assure you, after 11 years of experience that I have with this, that is a no-brainer. My answer would be 100% yes. Okay? We have a quick question.
Not a question, but I believe Bernadette put this very well. I'd spend $10,000.
Okay, Bernadette, and sweetheart, I would too, just so you know, but she has a very good point. She said she'd spend $10,000 on it. Why? Because we know the value. We know the worth. What the problem is that brand new prospects, they don't yet, guys. And that's what we have to do. We have to let them know what the value is, okay? Now, here's the next thing that I want to cover. So, why people buy a product in the first place. Now, this might come as a shock to some of you, okay? But most people buy products based on emotion, not logic. Logic has very little to do. As a matter of fact, you know, if you've ever gone to, you know, for frozen yogurt, I can promise you that was not a logical decision. Okay? It was not. It was an emotional decision. It was. Why? Well, because if you actually sat down and said to yourself, should I really do this for my health? Let me be logical about this. I'm pretty sure a frozen yogurt with like gummy bear toppings and, you know, all the other weird stuff you could put on your frozen yogurt would not be at the top of your list of the best things to do for yourself, okay? So when you go and you get some frozen yogurt, and you put those toppings on there, you're basically filling emotional desires, okay? It's fun. Have you ever noticed when you go to a yogurt place, it's not like all dark and drab. No, it's very light and bright and, you know, it's set up to look really cool and everything. Those purchases that we make in everyday life, most of them are based on emotion, not logic, okay? If it's lunchtime and you don't have very, very much time and you run down and you pick up a burger and fries, that definitely wasn't a logical choice, okay? What you were doing was stimulated by hunger, which I guess can kind of be an emotion or a feeling. That's what stimulated that, and then because of a time crunch, you went someplace and did something that you, if you were going logically, probably wouldn't have done, okay? So I just wanted to emphasize the point that purchases are not done on logic. They are done on emotion. Dr. Lee, who I have profound respect for, and I've known this gentleman for a good amount of time, he used to always say, facts tell and stories sell. So let me just kind of talk about that a little bit, okay? You have to understand that technical specs of our products are not the reason most people buy, okay? Actually, matter of fact, technical specs on any product are not the reason most people buy, okay? The reason that you want to tell stories, and when I say stories, I don't mean make-believe. I mean, you know, letting people know things that have happened. That's a story. A story doesn't always have to be fake, okay? A story can be real. The reason that you relay a story is because it allows a person to relate on a personal level. It allows them to understand how this particular product might be able to affect them on a personal level and personally, okay? So you tell them stories that are relatable, okay? Now, I want everybody to be very cautious about something, okay? And I know there's going to be some people out there that would literally, if I said this, and they would tell me to shut up. They would say, don't say that to people, but I'm going to tell you anyway, okay? And the reason they would tell me to shut up, don't say that to people, is because they have a vested interest on the other side, okay? But be careful not to get overly technical when it comes to your approach in this business, okay? So I'm going to read this. Again, this is one of those little pieces that I'm going to read verbatim because I want to make sure that I get the point across that I'm trying to get across, okay? I know that hydrogen is a very important aspect of our water, but the fact of the matter is most people are not scientists, okay? In fact, most people only took science in school because it was a required course, not because they were so into science, okay? So realize that if you focus on the science aspect of our product, you are only appealing to a very small subset of the consumer market, and you are limiting your own marketplace, okay? If you want to know really great ways to approach a consumer, then watch television. Specifically, watch television commercials. Did you know that millions of dollars are spent on market research, demographic studies, all that good stuff in order to see what motivates a buyer to buy? Okay? Car commercials are a great example of this. Now, I think everybody would agree that in this day and age, automobiles are pretty technical. From the Bluetooth to the satellite to the electronic ignition to the just all the different pieces that work in harmony to drive us down the road, right? But if you watch television commercials with vehicles, they very rarely tell us all those things. They don't tell us about the pistons and the compression. No, what do? They start like this. You've seen the commercials, right? If you think I'm wrong, put in. If you think I'm wrong with what I'm about to say, go ahead and put it in the notes. Jerry, you don't know what you're talking about, okay? But imagine this. Perhaps you've seen it. Best in its class, with twice as much torque as any other truck. Now that's going to be followed by a truck pulling an unbelievable load, okay? Sometimes even another truck. Have you seen those ones where they lower a truck sideways into the bed of another truck and then that truck drives away carrying this other truck? I know I've seen those. See, they don't want to try to impress people with a bunch of technical information like going into exactly what torque means and how many pounds of torque it has. No, what they do is they show a nice looking truck pulling a bunch of heavy stuff, which makes their point. It establishes their point. They don't need to say anything else. What they're letting you know is this is the story we're conveying to let you know that when you need to be able to tow a bunch of stuff, you'll be able to because that's a feature of this vehicle and we just showed you. That's how they do that, okay? It puts their point across and it gives the consumer the information that they really want to know. Because believe it or not, there's some people who do not know what the torque, what horsepower, they don't know what all those things mean or how they relate or apply to them. Well, these car companies aren't stupid. They know that if they put it in a really technical format, less people would be less likely, or actually more people would be less likely to purchase their product. So they dummy it down, they call it what it is, but show what it can be. And that's what people respond to, okay? Here's another one, your cell phone. Your cell phone's probably an excellent example because I'm going to ask everybody out there, did you honestly buy your cell phone for all the specs it has? When you got your cell phone, did you go through and read that entire manual cover to cover so you know all the things that your phone is able to do? Or actually, did you get a copy of the manual before you bought it and read it cover to cover to make sure that was the phone you wanted? And you actually went the 10 different possible phone choices that you could have purchased, and you read every single one of the user manuals from cover to cover to determine which one is going to be the best for you based on its technical specifications and technical abilities. I'm going to assume that for the vast majority of people, the answer to that question is a big, fat, resounding no. I didn't do that. Are you insane? Do you know how long that would take? Well, yeah, that's why most people don't do that. So here's the question. If you didn't purchase it based on all those specs and all that stuff, why did you? Was it because of the vivid, lifelike quality of the video? Or how about the enhanced sound, now with Beats or Bose or whatever's the hot ticket today? Or the superior dependability? Or the waterproof aspect because you keep dropping the damn thing in water? Okay, there's all these different pieces that probably influenced your decision to buy your phone much more than its technical capabilities. Okay, so keep that in mind. When you're talking to a prospect, realize most people are like most people. Okay, so yeah, if you're an engineer or some kind of scientist or something, you might look at life a little bit different. But you know what? That's okay. I'm not an engineer, and I don't necessarily want to look at life through an engineer's eyes. Because I don't think like that. And I can tell you this, there's far more of me than there are of them. What I mean by that is, I think I represent kind of the everyman. I really do. As far as a consumer is concerned. So you got to make sure that when you're prospecting, that you're talking to people that are the masses, okay? And that should be your approach, the masses, okay? And that's not saying, you know what? I don't want anybody to get all butthurt or anything, if you're an engineer, because I don't mean anything by it, but I think you know what I'm talking about. There's a different way of looking at things. And it's not to say that they don't have their play, and they have every right to want, the things that they want to know about the product. Yeah, give them that information. But just realize that on a mass scale, on a mass marketing scale, you want lowest common denominator, not the most complicated thing that you can put out there. Okay? And again, watch TV commercials, man. Utilize some of the money that they spent to get an idea of what works. How do these different advertisers approach a consumer? And if you watch those things, you know what? I'm more prone to fast forward the program so I can get to the commercial instead of the other way around. I don't mind watching commercials because to me, it's market research. Okay? All right. The next thing is don't be afraid to use yourself as an example, okay? How did you justify paying the price of your machine? Was part of the justification physical? When you're talking to somebody and now you can look back, like Bernadette said, $10,000. Well, I don't think she would have said that day one, maybe not even day 100, but she's had enough time to understand the value. So she can now relay that to someone and they'll be able to relate with that. So if she was to say, I had physical benefits because now that I'm properly hydrated, I feel so much better. I had financial benefit. As a result of getting this product, I've been able to eliminate other products that I was using, bottled water, chemical cleaners, toner, the list can go on and on and on. And I've actually, as a result of spending this money, I've saved even more, okay? Or even emotionally. Now that I'm feeling better physically as a result of being properly hydrated, I also feel better emotionally. How are you supposed to be in a good mood? How are you supposed to be in high spirits if you feel terrible? If when you wake up in the morning, you don't want to face your day because you feel so terrible. How in the world are you supposed to be happy and, in a great mood and a benefit to society if you feel like crap? Well, that's one of the things that can actually have an emotional effect on you by having this product. And if those things have happened, any or all of those, if you share that with one of the people that you're talking to, what you have to understand is all of those things are going to help put their perspective in the right place when it comes to the value and worth of the product. Okay? Now, here's another thing you have to keep in mind, all right? and again, I'm going to read this one. Most of your warm and hot market probably relate pretty well to you. That's why they are in your warm and hot market. Okay. So the things that made a difference to you when it came to purchasing your product will most likely also make a difference to them. Okay, so keep that in mind. When you're talking to the majority of your prospects, they're going to be people that you know, at least to begin with. And if they are in your hot and warm market, that means they're close to you. And, basically we end up with people that share like interests and hobbies and all sorts of stuff. People's people's political views. You've got a set over here, you've got a set over here. And those people, that's one of the things that they all have in common. Okay? I wish we could just get to the point where it really didn't matter that much and everybody could just be nice to each other. But hey, you know what? I believe in Santa Claus too, so it's that is what it is. So just remember that when you're talking to them, that the things that were important to you are most likely going to also have at least a degree of importance to them. Okay. So then I want you to ask yourself a question: is why did you buy the machine? Why did you buy your machine? And once you have that answer, the next question is, was price ever a consideration? And I've got to think it was. I've got to think that it was. So if price was a consideration, what made you overcome the objection of the price? What made you do it? And whatever your answer is, could very well be the exact same answers that someone else will end up giving a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road after purchasing the machine from you. If you ask them the same question, hey, why did you buy your machine? Was price a consideration? What made you overcome? You're going to find out that these people end up sharing a lot of the same, the same things with you. Okay? All right. The next item on this, when it comes to the price objection, is one of the main reasons that it even happens at all is because of the fact that it's unfamiliar technology and it's an unfamiliar product to the majority of consumers in this marketplace. Actually, in any marketplace. This is still, there's a couple places in Asia where this is much more mainstream, but for the majority of the rest of the world, it's still in its infancy and its introduction stages when it really comes down to, markets having this in a mass scale, all right? So one of the biggest problems is that most consumers are not familiar with this technology or the product, so they don't have a point of reference when it comes to what price is high or low. They don't know. So they're trying to figure it based on the sound of the price, which is one of the reasons that they're easily fooled by some of these other sellers, is because these other sellers know for a fact that they don't know this technology, and they use that to their advantage. As a matter of fact, when there's no point of reference, it means there's not going to be an automatic recognition of value. Okay, like if there was a big sale on Mercedes and they were $10,000 for a brand new Mercedes, I could tell you if that was legitimate, if it was legitimate, and a dealership, a legit Mercedes dealership, put an advertisement out that all of their Mercedes are going to be on sale for $10,000. There would be lines going out of the dealership for miles. Why? Is $10,000 not a lot of money? Oh no, $10,000 is a heck of a lot of money, but not for a Mercedes. It's not a brand new one. Okay. And people know that. So what you want to do when it comes to this is you want to remind people that almost every consumer product is the same when it comes to pricing models, and that ionizers are no different. Okay. And what does that mean? It means you get what you pay for. And this is one of my favorite. Price is indicative of quality, which means if you want a higher quality product, you are most likely going to pay a higher price point. And I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody. Just sometimes you have to remind somebody. You literally have to say those words to trigger that little part of their brain that kind of wakes them up out of the drunken stupor of false information that they've gotten into from maybe finding this stuff online from some other ionizer seller or, the things that you'll find on there. So I like to use examples of familiar products to illustrate my point. Rolex versus Timex. If you set them side by side, even if the Timex was off by 5 minutes, it still pretty much does what it needs to do, right? They're both watches, but I don't think anyone, whether they own a Timex or a Rolex, would say that the other is the same. If you own a Rolex, you sure aren't going to say that the Timex is the same as your watch. And if you own Timex, you're going to say that your watch sure the heck isn't a Rolex. Okay? So sometimes these little, mentioning these things makes a person think, wow, there are different degrees of quality for basically the same product. Okay? That's an important part. Mercedes and Hyundai. Now, here's one of the things I want people to know. There is on the Going 6A website, there are a bunch of different printable resources. This is one of them that's on there, okay? I created this. I went online and I looked and I found all these different things from both the Hyundai Elantra and a Mercedes E-Class. They have a price point difference of roughly $35,000. No, even more. 37? $39,000. That's a difference, okay? But if you look at these lists, they're identical. They are literally identical because these two vehicles have more in common than not in common. So why would there be a $30,000 plus price difference? Because of the things that you can't see. Do we all know that as consumers? A lot of times the reason something is a higher price is it's in the things that you can't see. It's in like the engineering, it's in the craftsmanship, it's in the actual products used to make the product, like the raw materials. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. And everybody should go on there. I want you to know too, this is on there. Hey, this is on there. This is another one that this is a determining the right product for you. User analysis. The reason this is very good when you're talking to somebody and you can get past the price objection, it covers, as in a questionnaire, some of the points you might forget to ask a person who's considering the product. Okay? So, like little things like this. Let's see. Do you prefer the latest and most advanced electronic devices? Why would I ask a question like that because if they say yes, then it tells me that they're probably going to be more likely to want the K8 than the SD501. Why? Because the K8 has it is the highest technological advanced product in this industry. So those questions can help a person at the end of it determine which product is the best based on their actual situation. So make sure that you use stuff like this too. This is the Kangen drinking water cost analysis compared to a couple different, bottled waters and things of that nature. Again, it's just to let a person know. Well, hey, even if you are just if you're not looking at the health aspect at all, just strictly for cost, our machine costs less for a family of 4 to drink the amount of water that they're supposed to than anything else on here. I mean, by almost half. In some of these, man, it's like, wow. Some of these are drastic. I mean, we're talking over a $50,000 savings over the course, and that's just on bottled water for the course of the anticipated life of the product. It's just crazy. So like the Mercedes and the Hyundai, it's a great example, and you put that in front of them. It's hard for a person to see something like that and not kind of get it. Not understand, wow, these look almost identical, but I know there's a difference in quality. It's just emphasizing your point, okay? Here's another one, all right? For all the Apple folks out there, I want you to ask yourself, why in the world do I have this expensive iPhone when I could have a $29.99 flip phone? Why? Is it because the iPhone can create much more benefit for you than the flip phone can? I mean, they can both send an email, send a text. They can both take a phone call. They can both make a phone call. So, I mean, really, if you look at it, it makes no sense for you to have an iPhone. So everybody, if you've got an iPhone, just dump it, go tomorrow, and get yourself a $29.99 flip phone. Same thing, right? Do you see how if you said this to somebody, especially if you're talking to someone who has an iPhone or has a nice Samsung, they have the latest Galaxy, whatever. I don't even know what Galaxy they're into now. The Nebula, they've got the newest. If you were to say something like to them, if they said, well, this is a really expensive product, you say, no, actually, comparatively speaking, that phone that you've got is a really expensive product because you could have got something that works just as well for $30. So you put it in a context, and now their perception starts to change. Now they're realizing what point you're trying to make, okay? But they're coming to that conclusion themselves. So it's funny that I should say that. The next thing it says, give information that allows the consumer to arrive at the conclusion themselves. Nobody wants to be told what to think, okay? They don't. Nobody wants to be told, you're wrong. This has value. That's the worst thing that you can do. So you just look, a lot of people say like I'm the king of analogies. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. I can figure out an analogy for it. My son is nodding his head in agreement once again. Because I'm really good at that of taking something that is not directly connected to what I'm actually talking about, using it as an example to connect the two together. Okay? So learn how to use analogies. Use how to use analogies like, if I was to ask you, when considering a product purchase, what is the number one consideration? What is your number one consideration on a whole, on average, when making a purchase of a product? Is it price? No, really. I really want you to think about this. Because if you're going to say, yeah, price is the most important thing to me. Okay, well, if price is the most important thing to me, then that means you only shop at the 99-cent store. You only shop at Dollar Tree. You only shop at Big Lots. Well, if that's the case, then here, you know what? Then you should only buy the cheapest ionizer available. That's this one right here. So if price is your number one concern, legitimately, for real, then you should look up this one. It's called the G2 Batch Ionizer. And this is real. I'm going to show you one more picture. This is actually one of them. Now, I can tell you this. When I saw this for the first time, I thought it was a joke until I actually researched it. And it is absolutely real. And yes, those basically are two plastic cookie jars connected by a PVC pipe with a plug stuck directly into the water. So if you have somebody who says price is the only consideration, it is the only thing that they care about, then direct them to that and tell them good luck. Don't put your finger in the water or I'll never talk to you again. And it's not because I don't like you, it's because you'll be dead. Because you'll electrocute yourself, okay? So, one of the problems that we are now running into is that consumers think that they're savvy because the internet seems to provide all the answers to the questions that they have to make a buying decision. But, folks, let me be very clear. It only seems that way, okay? The reality is the internet's not regulated or policed. Okay? So really, people can, and I hate to say this, but people can pretty much say or do whatever they want. I'm going to give you a really good example. See this right here? See this right here? This is a screenshot from an actual website. I don't know if you can see it, but it says right up there, Consumer Reports. Right on the top of that, Consumer Reports. Here, this is actually, if you print it out, this is the whole little thing that they have there, okay? Now, I want you to know something. This is not Consumer Reports. It is actually put out by another ionizer brand. And it took me about, 15 seconds going to that page. to discover who it was. And the reason it took me hardly any time at all is I know what to look for. Because these guys are devious, but sometimes they're not real smart. Because someone who knows what to look for can find the information very, very quickly. Okay? I'm not going to say it here because I'm not going to divulge how I figured it out so quick. But if you want to know, send me an email and I will shoot it to you. I will send you exactly how I knew and what was the indication so that you can then use that same information. And if you run across these same yahoos, you'll be able to know exactly what to tell your prospect to look for, and then they'll be able to identify it. Okay? Just so you know, too, that I'm not making things up. When I first found out about this, which was a long time ago, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at my email dated March 7th, 2016. I was the recipient of this email. Let me read this to you real quick. Dear Mr. Kostica, thank you for taking the time to contact Consumer Reports. Uh-oh. Oh, you mean if somebody does something like this, I would just go and actually contact Consumer Reports? Yep. That's exactly what I would do. Thank you for taking the time to contact Consumer Reports. I want to express how much we value your choice of our products and services to help you make informed purchasing decisions. That's the reason that they put this on there to begin with. That's why they put this. Because they're trying to dupe consumers into believing that this is what... And first off, do you honestly believe that Consumer Reports, if you know anything about Consumer Reports, you know they're not going to say, why are Kangen water and ionizer machines so expensive? Consumer Reports does not do that. Okay? They're a very objective reporting company. Okay? The email continues. Mr. Kostica, I was unable to locate the article you provided to us in our database, so it does not appear to be from us. Okay? Basically means that's not Consumer Reports. Please know that I have forwarded this information to our home office for their review and consideration. Now, this is directly from Consumer Reports. I don't think there's a better source that could tell me if that article that starts by saying Consumer Reports is Consumer Reports. I don't think anybody is more qualified to give me that information than Consumer Reports. Okay? So be assured, when it comes to stuff like that, there are ways to find out, and there are things that you can do to validate it and verify it. It's important that you make sure that your prospects know this before they ever relinquish a dime. You tell them this. Tell them, you know what? That's fine. If you're not sure about what product you want, you're not sure what direction you want to go, just do me a favor. Don't buy anything until you have the full story of everything. Let me know what you're running into. And after we have gone through everything, then make the choice. One of the things that these guys will do, and these guys I'm just using as a kind of broad definition of the other ionizer sellers out there. One of the things that they will do is they want to get you on the phone because they've perfected that as their number one tactic. So when they get you on the phone, one of the first things that they'll start saying is that they'll go after you emotionally. They will not tell you that their product is so much better because of its this or because of its that. The first thing that they'll start to tell you is, did you know that the person selling you the machine that's a Kangen distributor, they're going to make so much money off of you? This is how they approach it. They will try to plant seeds of doubt and deception about the person who's actually trying to help you out to make sure that you actually get the best value for your money and the best product in this industry. But these guys will attack it and right off the bat go after the jugular to try to discredit you in the eyes of your prospect by saying that all you are is a money grubbing, all you want is the money and that you're just that's all you care about. Well, I think most of us know that that's not the case for us. And that why would they even go there? Because they know that if they can get an emotional response from that person and they get upset with you, that increases their chances of that person purchasing from them. So that's why they will do that. Okay? So you definitely have to be careful about that. All right? Anybody can put anything on a website, whether it's true or not. And I think I just showed you a pretty good example of that. Okay? The harsh reality, folks, is that the other ionizer sellers out there, they're not consumer advocates, okay? They're not trying to protect the best interest of the consumers out there. They're not trying to protect the buyer. Let's be real. They are salespeople that are trying to sell their product. They're trying to get that person not to buy yours and to buy theirs. That's all they are. And you need to make sure that you emphasize that fact to your prospects. Because if they think that this person that they're talking to from another ionizer company is really trying to protect their best interest, no, they're trying to protect their own best interest. And their own best interest is for that customer to buy from them, not to buy a better product for themselves. It's to buy it from them. That's what's going to be in their best interest, okay? So you do have to remember that. And here, you sometimes have to remind consumers that they need to use a little bit of consumer common sense, okay? Now think about this. If you were going to buy a Honda, would you go to the Toyota dealership to ask them about the reliability of that other car? Or even better yet, if you were going to buy that Honda, that's what you wanted to buy, would you go to the Toyota dealership and ask for a test drive so you'll know how the Honda works? No, it doesn't make any sense. Why? Well, because if you went to a Toyota dealership and start asking them about a Honda, what they're going to try to do is sway you from the Honda and try to get you to buy a Toyota. So it only makes sense that you would not go to literally what would be considered a competing product to ask their opinion. Why? Because it's a biased opinion. How is that not just painfully obvious to everybody? But you know what, guys? It's really weird. It's not. Okay? Same thing with the test drive. And I use this as an example. I will say, okay, wait a second. So you're telling me that you talked to these people from this other ionizer company, and they told you that their water is just like ours. So I provided you samples for the last 30 days. You told me how great you're feeling. These guys were able to convince you that their water is the exact same as mine, but their product is $2,000 less. You might get that correct? And that happens to people, okay? So what you have to be able to say to them is, that's like taking a test drive in a Toyota so you can buy a Honda. You haven't test driven their product. You test drove my product. My product is what you got benefit from. And you're going to trust some guy you're trusting a guy who's doing this? No. When you sample water, it's one of the reasons I really encourage people to sample the water. Sampling the water is not doing this to your prospect. It's doing this. You're giving. You're not taking. You're giving the water to them. So what I tell people is I say, hey, look, you know what? You want to give examples of things that make consumers think, okay? And one of the things that like the car, the giving that as an example of the test drive. You want to basically give them an example that will make them think that it's, because if I just start attacking this other company, well, their water's not the same, and no. Because you know what they probably said to him on the phone? They probably said, well, they're probably going to tell you that our water isn't the same, but it is. So then as soon as I say, but their water's not the same, then all of a sudden I'm reinforcing what that other person told them. Now I'm making them look like they were correct. And that they're the ones being honest, and I am being deceitful, and I'm not. And that's the thing you have to realize and recognize, okay? So by using an example that is not the exact product, but it really illustrates the point you're trying to make, that can really benefit you, okay? One of the other things, too, I'm just going to kind of throw this in there, is don't be afraid of these other sellers, man. The only reason that there's ever a price objection is because these other guys have gotten a hold of them. That's the only reason. So don't be afraid of. Be willing to warn them find out the information like this, and just give them Give them this information. Let them know this ahead of time. Why? Because if they stumble across this on their own accord, they're going to think you're the liar. If you let them know this ahead of time, once they run across it, it'll be, oh, that's what Jerry was talking about. Exactly like he said. Okay? Okay. Now, one of the questions we sometimes get, why doesn't Enagic advertise? It's not their business model. Okay? The reality is the masses are not familiar with this technology, so they wouldn't understand the value. So doing like traditional advertising would not work, okay? The Enagic business model is not to pay high-priced celebrities for endorsements. That's not the way the business model works. Mr. Oshiro wanted to do something that is more grounded for the everyman, not just for these, athletes who are already making so much money and all these endorsements. No, he did not want to do that. He wanted to give an opportunity for anybody and everybody who wanted to pursue it, okay? So it's a direct sales model. That's what it is. It's people to people, okay? It's so I can explain to you the benefits. I can explain to you the philosophy. I can explain to you the culture of this company, the mission of this company, okay? Well, here's a question. When was the last time you saw a Rolls-Royce commercial? Oh, they must be out of business. I don't think I've ever seen a Rolls-Royce commercial. Oh, wait a second. Rolls-Royce doesn't have to advertise. Why? Well, because when you're the best, you really don't have to. It really boils down to it, okay? Word of mouth. Do you think someone who originally bought a Rolls-Royce did not tell all of their upper echelon friends about their wonderful new car that was put together by hand? Oh, yeah. And then the people that they hung out with were also in the upper echelon, so they went and got it too. Okay? Well, folks, newsflash. Enagic is the Rolls-Royce in our industry. Okay? Here's one that I really think is good. Enagic did not set the bar for this industry. Enagic is the bar. Really think about that. We're what everybody else is trying to be. We are, though. Okay? We do not compare ourselves to any other brand. Why? Well, it's really simple. Because when you're the best, who are you supposed to compare to? See, any other company out there that compares themselves to us, they are admitting that they are inferior. Because you do not compare yourselves to an inferior product, right? So if they're comparing themselves to us, they are admitting and recognizing that Enagic products are superior. That is the reason for the comparison. So, all these comparisons that you'll see out there, a lot of the Enagic distributors are like, oh no, this is terrible. No, it's not. Actually, it's the best endorsement of our quality and product that we could get, and it's coming from people that are considered our competition. Okay? They're letting the whole marketplace know the number one company in this field, in this industry, it's Enagic. How are they letting people know that? Because they're comparing themselves to us. The writing couldn't be any clearer, and it's right on the wall. Okay, so it's right there. Now, here's some specific things that you can say and do that will help you when it comes to overcoming the price objection, okay? The number one is give water samples. It's the great equalizer. It's the try it before you buy it premise and approach. Now, here's what you have to understand when it comes to this. None of these other ionizer sellers share water, okay? Why not? I'm about to tell you. If you get a prospect that says, well, this other company says their water's just like yours, then I would tell them, okay, then you need to contact that company back. You need to ask them for some water samples. You need to tell them, you need to put your money where my mouth is. So give me some free water for the next 30 days so I can see what, if anything, your water does for me, okay? Now, here's the bottom line. If they say no, and no matter what reason or excuse that they give you, the real reason is because they can't. And I don't mean physically can't. I mean they can't because their water properties are not strong enough to be able to last long enough for sampling. You guys, if this approach has worked so well for so many magic distributors, why in the world aren't all these other sellers mimicking, copying, emulating what we're doing in our marketplace approach? Why aren't all of them going out and sharing water, sharing water, sharing water? The reason is because their inferior product cannot produce water quality and properties that are as strong as ours, so they will not last throughout the sampling period. Why do you think we have to replenish ours even every 3 or 4 days? Well, it's because, unfortunately, the properties go, okay? So basically, understand that the reason it works for us is because our water quality is good. And it doesn't work for them because their water quality isn't. That's a bottom line, okay? Now, when someone is insistent on knowing the price, okay, before ever knowing anything about the product, you know those people, okay? I'm going to give you a little, hey, would you like to try the water? And well, how much is the machine? Well, you know what? Just try the water. Well, what does it cost? Hey, you know what? It doesn't really matter. If it costs $10 and it doesn't do anything for you, $10 would be too much. Well, no. I want to know, how much does this thing cost? When I get somebody like that, and it has happened a few times to me, this is how I respond. I'll go, okay, fine. It's $10,000. And the response is almost always exactly the same. Wow, really? And I'll say, no, not really. The number one selling unit of the company is only 4,000. Okay. The reason this will have a different effect on the person is because I've just put the price and the quality into perspective. And they now have something to go off of. Okay. It started at 10,000, just like Bernadette said. Okay. $10,000. Well, it's not going to cost that. So now when I say, no, it's only 4,000, in the mind of the consumer, they're just like, wow, I just saved $6,000. Okay. Now that $4,000 figure it's not as overwhelming as if I said, oh, it's $4,000. They have no context. They have no point of reference to know whether or not that's high, low, good, bad. So when I throw out that 10,000, I've established a price point. And now when I tell them what the real price is, it's easier for them to be able to accept that and go, okay, that seems much more reasonable. Okay, so it's a great technique, and it is a sales technique, but I think it's one of those ones that I wouldn't say that it's $10,000 if I honestly didn't believe that the value of that machine far exceeded $10,000. Okay, so when you put the price and quality and benefit in perspective, here's a couple different ways to do it. We're almost done here, folks. If somebody tells me that the price is too high, I will ask them something like, well, these are some specific things that you can actually say to people, okay? Not really canned responses, but responses, okay? How much was your car? And no matter what price they say back, you reply with, wow, you got ripped off. And they're probably going to look at you like, what? What are you talking about? And then my response is, wow, you could have bought a really good pair of walking shoes and saved all that money on that car because, they really can accomplish pretty much the same thing. They can get you from point A to point B. The shoes might take a little longer, but think of all that money you're saving. You'll have so much time to think of all the money that you saved instead of spending it on that useless overpriced car. What were you thinking? Okay. How about this one? Are you married? If they say yes, very easy, simple question. Did you buy your spouse your last anniversary gift at the 99-cent store? And if not, why? I can tell you from the perspective of every husband, they will say, no, because she'd kill me. That's it. It's self-preservation. It's to avoid death, okay? How about this one? Proper hydration is extremely important, and this product may impact your health and the health of your family. Is that really something you should discount shop? Let me ask you something. Do you hope your doctor was ranked last in their class so that you can ask for a discount? I'm going to assume no. Why? Because you're looking for the best that your money can buy, right? Not the cheapest your money can buy. So I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of quick points, just kind of going over all this again, all right? So understand that the price objection usually comes after a prospect finds cheaper water ionizers from wherever, okay? Remind them that this is just like any other consumer products, and Consumer 101 applies here just like it does anything else. Tell them not to be overwhelmed by the fact that they're not familiar with the technology or the product. It is just like any other consumer product that they are completely familiar with when it comes to the realities of pricing models. You want to use the strength of Enagic to sell the whole story, not just the product. You know, Don Prosser, who just recently moved back to Japan, he was promoted to the president of Enagic Japan. And Don, I've said this to you privately, but I will do this publicly as well. Congratulations to you, my friend. I'm very happy for you. And I've been watching all of your videos. I'm learning Japanese, Don. The next time I see you, man, I'll be able to speak Japanese just because of all the great, tips that you've been giving people. But Don Prosser has been recently talking about the kind of getting away from the calling Enagic distributors and calling them ambassadors. And when I first heard it, I was kind of like, that's kind of, I don't know about that. But then I really started thinking about it, and I realized, if we call ourselves distributors, it basically just means that we're in this for the business. That's it, man. We're in this for the dough, and I'm helping distribute this company's product. But by calling yourself an ambassador, an Enagic ambassador, basically what that means is not only are you embracing the product, but you are embracing the culture. You're embracing the philosophy. You're embracing the mission, and you're out there trying to share that and spread that with everybody else. And I got to tell you, after I thought about it for a little while, I kind of thought it was a stroke of genius. So, Don, I don't often say this, but good job. No, but in all seriousness, I think it's a great thing. And I know for myself, I'm going to start using that terminology in my Enagic business. And I'm going to encourage my team members to do the same. Because I think if we become Enagic ambassadors, we're much more likely to embrace the whole of Enagic instead of just like the water portion or just the Ukon portion, because this really is a big project. It really is. It's multifaceted. We are like a diamond. There are all these different parts to it that when you look at it together, it's beautiful. But sometimes you got to look at the whole picture to be able to see the beauty of each individual piece. Okay? You want to use tools and resources. All this stuff I showed you guys, use it. On this Going 6A website, there is an entire downloadable library of all sorts of different stuff for free. So just use it, okay? Remember what the machine is worth to you today and share that info with your prospects, okay? Make sure that you share that info with them. And remind your prospects that you're here for the long haul, not just to do a turn and burn. What that means is, don't just facilitate the sale, get your commission check, and think, yeah, on to my next one. Remember what I said when I first started. Be serious about this. And when you are talking to a prospect, have the intention of developing a lifelong relationship with this person, one way or the other. Okay, even if it's that you help them get their filter every 6 months to make sure that they've got a good filter in there. Okay, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you continue that contact and be serious about your Enagic career. If you're going to be serious about Enagic. Okay, if you're not, if you're going to do a flyby, then it doesn't matter. A fly-by-night type thing, then it doesn't matter. All this information, it doesn't really matter. But if you are serious about your Enagic career, then it absolutely matters. And I think a lot of these things will help you when it comes to dealing with a price objection. Do we have a question or something? Or
people were wondering if you could make the Consumer Reports article available as well as the email that you received from them.
No. And I'll explain why. That was a great question. One, I'm not going to promote their stuff any more than I actually have here. So I'm not going to give anybody, because them getting more hits on their website actually increases their rankings in search engines. And I'm not going to do that for them. As far as the email is concerned, the only reason that I'm not going to send that out is because it has who they are. And I'll let you know who they are. If you send me an email and you are an Enagic distributor, you need to send me your ID number and corroborated information though too, okay? Because I'm not going to just send it to anybody. But if you request the information, I can give you the information. But the email itself, The reason that I hang on to this and I don't just throw it out there is because that's my golden ticket if I ever get messed with by that company. Okay, so I just hope everybody can understand that and respect that, like I said, I'll let you know who it is. But I think we need to stay away from their website as much as possible. And, maybe if more people contact Consumer Reports, okay, here, I'll throw this one out there. If more people contact Consumer Reports about these guys, you'll get your own email. See what I'm saying there, folks? So it'll also put that on their radar much more, and maybe they'll do much more about it, okay? Okay, so if you establish the value of the product, price will not end up being an issue, okay? Just be sure to protect your prospect by letting them know what they're going to find out when they go online and the things that they might run into, and be willing to share water, okay? It's the great equalizer. It's also the easiest way to create value in the eyes of your prospect. Real quick, couple of announcements. First off, I hope that helped. I really do. I hope some of those things help you guys understand, maybe some techniques and just maybe some approaches that are a little bit easier to get the desired result. Okay. But announcements. I want to remind everybody that Ride the Wave 6, which is back there someplace, the Going 6A edition, it is available in print and digitally. Now, I want you also to understand something. The information we covered tonight and a lot more information is in that book. So if you got any value from this, you will probably also get value from the book itself, okay? All you have to do is go to the going6a.com website and click on shop, top right-hand corner. Just click on the shop link. It'll take you there. Also, make sure that you receive notices by subscribing to our email list. Again, go to going6a.com and click on the subscribe button. And then it is an opt-in email, so you do have to do the little stuff that they say to do and hit submit, and that's all you got to do. So don't send me your email and say subscribe me. I can't do that because it has to be you, because there's like a process involved. So if you want to be on our list, just go to going6a.com, click on subscribe, put your info in there, click, done. Okay? Okay, the next live training will be on Monday, October 29th at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, and we are going to be discussing the competition. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, you do not want to miss out on this one, okay? You don't want to miss this one. This was just a small little taste of some of the info that I will be, sharing with everybody when it comes to that. Last thing is, for those that are in the Riverside, Orange County, Sandra, can you pop this up? Okay, for those who are in the Riverside, Orange, San Diego counties, tomorrow is the launch of the new live True Health Seminar. I'd like you to join me, my son Nathaniel, the original Congan kid, Bill and Emily Mabry, and Bob Brown for an informative look at Enagic and what it has to offer. This flyer is on Facebook, so if you need the address, and I think that my trusty assistant just popped it into the comments, so the address is in there. Please make sure you copy that. It starts at 7 o'clock p.m., and we hope you can join us. I do want to throw this out there real quick for Mr. Bob Brown. Hey, Bob, you're going to hate me for this one. Today's Bob's birthday, everybody. So go to his Facebook account and just bombard him with happy birthday wishes, okay? I got like 130 birthday wishes. I want you guys to double that for Bob. Why? Because I know he will go through and thank every single one of you. So I'm messing with him. Give him a lot of reasons to give thanks. Okay, guys? But Bob, seriously, happy birthday. I hope you had a great day today, buddy. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. We hope that this information is able to help you and your team be more successful in the Enagic business. And of course, we look forward to seeing you at our next live training. My name is Jerry Kostica. It's been a pleasure. Till next time.